Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Well, hello there. I'm Regina King, the Evil Queen.
And I'm Lynn Roskamp, the Docent of Darkness, and we're the hosts of Disturbing Interests.
Do you get excited about mummies, decorate in skulls, obsess over the loss of the Library of Alexandria, even though it was lost in a different age?
Do you kill the conversation with your in-depth serial killer knowledge, facts about items made out of human skin, or have a strange longing to know the softer side of Mothman?
Have you spent an objectively disproportionate amount of time studying the life of H.H. Holmes?
Oh, I wouldn't know anybody like that. No, certainly not.
Well, I mean, we did call our podcast Disturbing Interest for a reason.
That's right, we've got them, and we are doing you the favor of keeping the questions like, at what temperature does it take to destroy a cadaver out of your browsing history?
Well, we hope.
Because with us, you might be disturbed.
But you're not alone. You can find us on any podcasting platform under Disturbing Interest, or check us out online at disturbinginterest.com.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot.
Hey, y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, girl.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? You always ask me how I'm doing. How are you doing?
Oh, nobody wants to hear about that.
Yeah, they do.
Dude, I'm all stuffed up.
Oh, nobody wants to hear that.
I know. This pollen's killing me, bro.
I don't think we're the only ones suffering. I don't know how it is in other areas, but here in the South, we are under assault, and it is by a yellow enemy.
It is true.
Pollen is all over the place.
Yeah, to be honest, I woke up, I feel like shit today. I'm all stuffy. My eyes were all like swollen and kind of gross this morning. I thought, oh shit, I have pink eye.
Oh.
But then it cleared up once I woke up. I think it's just allergies. It just got me feeling bad.
I normally don't suffer too bad from allergies, but it's had me choked up as well. So I think we'll join the thousands of other people out there fighting.
But again, no one wants to hear that. So Dylan,
You was right.
how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Feeling good.
That's good.
Feeling fit. Had to miss the gym for a day or two, so I went in today on a nice quiet weekend day, and I got I don't know. People out there that go to the gym, they know what I'm talking about. When you go in, it's nice and quiet, and you get to get it all the gear and the
machines that you want.
The machines that you want. No wait, nobody it's not real crowded because I get kind of nervous just around a bunch of people. It was a great session, couple of hours. I did all the things.
Yeah, I felt great at the gym as well. I've been rewatching old Project Runway episodes, so it's just a good chance to tune out. Get some cardio in.
Yeah. So I'm
Watch
here.
some Project Runway from like 10 years ago.
My body feels like butter now.
And then I can judge the terrible outfits. But then I'm like, oh, yeah, well, this was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, early 2000s was a bad time for fashion.
Well, this would have been like 2012. Still not a great time for fashion.
No.
Not a great look.
Really?
Yeah.
So what were you getting a lot of during 2012, right quick? Tell me.
I don't know, like peplum tops and bedazzled
jeans,
shirts and shit.
Yes, bedazzling was a big
it just
thing.
seemed like a lot of beaded, bedazzled necklines and things.
Sounds like the dark times of couture.
Yeah.
So here we are. I'm pretty sure I won't be able to move in the morning, but that's a good thing.
Well, I'm glad you have a new addiction, Dylan.
Yeah. I'm just trying to put my energies. Here, I hit the big 4-6. Let's be honest. I'm very, very close.
Happy birthday.
Thank you for that. Very, very close to the half-century mark. And
My birthday is officially 1 week away.
Yeah.
Only 7 days, bud.
Yeah, and you're only going to be 2 years old, younger than me when your birthday happens.
No, I am no longer aging.
Oh, you're just going. So this is 40. You're going to stop right here.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm going to be 40 again.
Oh, so you're going to knock it down a couple. If you're going to lie about it, you might as well pick a good one. Yeah?
I'm going to be 40.
You're just going to perpetually 40.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Heather Gray over here.
Right. So if you're feeling generous, hey, I like birthday presents. Just saying.
Oh, but Heather, even though she's been fighting off Mother Nature, fighting off all these different things, she has been working diligently to bring us a brand new case here at Mountain Murders, and I can't wait to just dig straight into it.
We have, well, I will say this, Dylan. The damnedest thing happened while researching this episode.
Okay.
I have someone who has a personal connection to this case. My stepmother.
This blew me away.
My stepmother actually subcontracted for the killer we are discussing today. His mother worked for this woman for some years, subcontracting in her line of work. She actually met this serial killer several times.
That's crazy.
In passing.
See, and they say you never know when you may be shoulder to shoulder with a killer in your lifetime. They have percentages of likelihoods.
My stepmother would often deliver documents to this woman's house and or would meet the son, who is the subject of our podcast today.
Yeah, I've enjoyed talking to her because she's for many, many years been a court reporter. And I didn't realize she's in on all the juicy details.
She knows a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Think about it. The court reporter. They're creating, and also she talks about how nerve-wracking it is because everything has to be perfect.
Well, we're discussing Todd Kohlhepp, which you saw. Hey, if you downloaded the episode, then you know what we're talking about. But yes, my stepmother has been a court reporter for many, many years, and she knew Todd's mother, Reggie, who was also a court reporter and owned a court reporting business.
Wow.
Yes.
So
she
knows,
actually met Todd more than once.
She knows all the juicy details about all the stuff.
She does. She's fun to speak with sometimes.
That makes me want to be a court reporter.
Well, it's kind of interesting work, right?
It is.
All right, Dylan. I am going to give a bit of a trigger warning for today's episode. We will be discussing sexual assault, and there is some animal cruelty, just briefly. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. We'll just gloss over it a little bit, but I know that's upsetting for some people, so I just wanted to go ahead and put that out. Are you ready, Dylan?
I've already started.
Without me?
No, because...
Todd Christopher Sampsell was born on March 7th, 1971 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to parents Regina, known as Reggie, and William Sampsell, and William was in the military. When Todd was only 2 years old, his parents divorced. He would remain in custody of his mother, Reggie. The following year, she would remarry a man named Charlie Carver in 1976, who adopted Todd and gave him his last name. During this time, Todd was primarily raised in South Carolina and Georgia. After his parents' divorce, even as a toddler, Todd exhibited troubling behavior.
Oh, he's a scary toddler?
At nursery school, Todd was aggressive with the other children, often tearing up their personal property.
That seems like a bit much for a small one.
He bullied the other children. Not only did Todd take his aggression out on these other kids, but also animals. He used a BB gun to shoot birds, cats, and dogs.
I finally got a BB gun. It was my Red Ryder moment as a young man, a kid. Yeah, so I finally got my BB gun. Been wanting one forever. And my mother didn't want to get me one. She's afraid I would shoot my eye out.
No.
She didn't say those words, but she was concerned about me getting hurt or her, tearing up someone's property or just being a knucklehead. And I tried and tried and tried to shoot a bird. I don't know why. You see how there was pigeons and all these birds around, and I just knew I was going to get one. And I finally did, unfortunately. And I thought I would be totally stoked about it. But it being a BB gun, obviously it wasn't a clean kill, if you will. And the poor little thing hits the ground. It's flopping all around. It's injured. It dies in front of me. And I got to say, I was ashamed of having done that.
Oh.
And I never, ever, ever tried to shoot a bird again.
Poor baby bird.
Yeah, I know. It was sad.
You're a bird killer.
I was a monster for just a second.
Bird murderer.
There's some little bird family that, they're all grown up now.
You're on a list somewhere.
And their dad just disappeared, or their mom just disappeared one day, and it was my fault.
Gosh. Who did I marry? You monster.
Well, at least I regretted it and stopped.
It's true. So once Todd poisoned a goldfish by pouring bleach into the bowl simply because his mother refused to buy him a pet gerbil.
Who even thinks like that?
He would often do things to get back at his mom. Anytime she did something Todd didn't like, he would seek revenge. At one point, he stuffed bath towels into the toilet, which flooded the house.
Oh my gosh.
Dylan, now these are not just like what I would consider like little bratty behaviors by a kid.
No,
These are some serious, troubling incidents.
No, this is way over the top. This is very vindictive behavior, which most small children don't even have that feeling in them to get back at people or to make them pay, if you will. And honestly, if I knew of this kid and saw or heard of him doing these types of things, I would be like, wow, something's going on with your child. This is abnormal. Very abnormal behavior.
His mother soon grew tired of the behavior. She recognized there was something abnormal about her son. Todd would later claim he spent a great deal of time with his physically abusive grandfather. FBI profiler John Douglas would later say that Todd was abused and abandoned as a boy and that his grandfather had hit him with a cattle prod.
Oh, gosh.
Todd went about 8 years without seeing his biological father. He didn't get along with his stepfather, Carl, and he actually begged to live with his bio dad. Todd locked a neighborhood boy in a dog cage and then repeatedly rolled it over and over, causing bodily injuries to this child.
Gosh, could you imagine being in a cage like that and someone flipping you all over the place in it?
No.
That's terrifying.
I just can't imagine a child doing this to another child.
Yeah, and if someone came to you and told you one of your children did this, I would be mortified.
I would be deeply disturbed.
I would be deeply disturbed, and it would be way more than just a stern talking to or any type of punishment. I would honestly likely seek professional help.
Absolutely. He also took a hammer, destroying a new bedroom set that his mother had purchased because he didn't like it.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Todd would have got his little ass whooped.
He often threatened to take his own life. Reggie sensed her son could not process anger as a normal person, like how a normal person would process anger. And she grew increasingly tired of her son's actions and sent him to therapy. However, the therapy sessions did little to curb his rage. Todd was emotionless unless he was expressing anger. The therapy sessions were not working, so Reggie committed her 9-year-old son to a Georgia mental institution for 3 months, and this was around 1980.
And I'm going to imagine this, whatever's going on with this child, he probably wouldn't react very well to punishments anyway. I don't think you can spank this out of this kid if you're going to use some kind of old form.
No.
Or ground him or ever make him realize that. I don't think you can make a child like this stop, because it's just going to make them worse and make them more angry. And yeah, so it's really a tricky position to be in as a parent.
Well, he seems to be exercising such disobedience that he would just retaliate.
Smashing up your bedroom suit with a hammer, dude? Oh my gosh. I would have lost it on that one.
The doctors at the mental institution described Todd as having an antisocial personality. He was behaviorally demanding, self-centered, and had a preoccupation with sex, though he was only 9 years old. When Todd was 12 years old, his mother and stepfather divorced. Reggie needed time to, quote, find herself, so she sent Todd to live with his father in Tempe, Arizona. Yet his father didn't have a handle on Todd either. His father collected guns and knives and taught Todd how to blow things up and make bombs.
Yeah, this kid has a perfect personality to teach, warfare tactics to, right?
Todd had hoped for a happy reunion with his biological father, yet William Samsel was often too busy with girlfriends and dating to spend time with his son. When his father tried sending Todd back to Reggie, she would make numerous excuses to avoid taking her son back.
I think Reggie had her fill of trying to deal with this unruly child. And honestly, I don't think you could blame her. I mean, this would be very aggravating. And it's easier just to send him somewhere else and not deal with it.
His father suggested they put him up for adoption. The rejection of both parents incited further anger in Todd. Later, Todd's father states his son's only emotion was fury.
Now, even if they had this, which is a very extreme move, to even discuss putting your child up for adoption that you've had for years, it's not like you're just having the baby or something like that. But I certainly would be inappropriate to let Todd know that you had that discussion, because that's going to destroy. That's really going to mess anybody up, even your most regular person.
Well, I'd read some conflicting articles, Dylan. In one article, it led me to believe that he remained in Arizona with his dad. Another article suggested that Todd spent the summer with his dad, was returned to Reggie before school started, and that he freaked out and, his behavior was so out of control that she agreed to just send him back to Arizona.
Oh, because he wanted to be with his dad,
Yes.
so he can learn how to use a knife.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
But then things in Arizona were that great, obviously.
Right.
Now, on November 25th of 1986, Todd's anger boiled over when his father left him alone for 3 days. William had an emergency with his own father. Reggie said, quote, "Todd was not a child you left alone."
I would agree.
Todd had a crush on a 15-year-old girl, but she rejected his advances. Instead, the girl was interested in Todd's friend, but she told Todd they could be friends. The rejection sent Todd into a jealous rage. Todd waited for the girl's parents to leave, then tried luring her out of the house. He lied, saying the other boy wanted to talk to her.
See, now this level of manipulation. He's already realized she's not into him, but he uses the other person that he knows she's into as bait. That's very chilling.
Yes.
That's chilling to me.
And he's 15 at the time as well.
Yes, I mean that's a very I don't know, conniving way to be at 15 years old.
Once he got the girl into an alleyway, Todd put his father's .22 caliber revolver to her head and then forced the girl to walk back to his house. He pulled the trigger on the gun to scare the girl into submission, but it misfired. Terrified, the girl complied with Todd's demands. Todd tied her up on his bed, binding her limbs with a rope. He taped her mouth shut, then placed a knife next to her on the bed, warning her that if she screamed, he would kill her.
I'm blown away.
Then he raped this young girl. After he finished, Todd walked the girl back to her house, but sternly warned her that if she told anyone, he would murder her siblings who were 3 and 6 years old at the time.
So he's just a full-blown monster.
Yeah.
And he's not even
An adult.
An adult.
No. This is very scary behavior out of a 15-year-old kid.
No, this escalated quickly. I'm really not.
The premeditation that's involved.
Yeah.
He's really thought it out.
Yeah.
It's been planned.
Yeah, and the threats to keep her
methodically executed.
Threatening to kill a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old if you talk. And this poor girl, what's she to think? I mean, why wouldn't you believe him? He just held you at gunpoint, kidnapped you, took you bound and tied you and raped you and threatened your life the entire time. I mean, if I was a young person, it'd be hard not to believe that he's going to kill me or somebody.
Yeah, it's horrific. Well, Dylan, the girl's 6-year-old brother had already notified police that his sister was missing. An officer was at the house waiting.
Wow.
When the girl arrived, disheveled and in shock, she eventually told the officer Todd's name. And this was a female officer, by the way. Todd was immediately arrested at home. When he was taken into custody, he asked, quote, "What's going to happen to me? How much am I going to get?"
This should have been the end of his story. I don't care if he's 15 or not. That's horrific, monstrous stuff he's doing, and I think he should have been locked away for the rest of his life.
Todd would be charged with kidnapping, sexual assault, and committing a dangerous crime against children. At 15 years old, Todd would be tried as an adult. Todd told investigators that he had raped the girl because he was mad at his father. He would plead guilty to the kidnapping charge, but the sexual assault would be dropped. Todd would also be forced to register as a sex offender. The judge, C. Campbell Rose, saw Todd as a lost cause. Rose said, quote, "At less than the age of 9, this juvenile was impulsive, explosive, and preoccupied with sexual content. He has not changed. He has been unabatedly aggressive to others and destructive of property since nursery school. He destroys his own clothing, personal possessions, and pets apparently on a whim and caprice. Approximately 6 years of intervention in 15 years of life have resulted in abysmal failure. 25 months of the most intensive and expensive professional intervention, short of God's will, would not provide protection for the public and no rehabilitation for this juvenile by any services or facilities presently available to the juvenile court." Todd's attorney argued he did not believe the boy would go on like a murderous spree, for example.
I gotta say, I agree with this judge, and I mean, this is a judge who sees, troubled juveniles. I'm sure it's a juvenile court, or wait, he's an adult court.
Well,
yeah?
They rule that he will be tried as an adult.
Right, but I mean, Todd's standing out even amongst the other troubled youths, and he's blown away by what he's seeing, and I don't blame him.
Todd's attorney said, quote, "He was very, very mixed up and screwed up in his childhood. He apparently had difficulty with his father, and his father put him up for adoption, so he acted out of anger."
You can't rationalize rape, bud. You can't. That's not boys being boys. That infuriates me, the thought of that.
His mother, Reggie, remained Todd's biggest supporter and advocate, asking the judge to send her son to live with his grandparents instead of prison. She wrote in a letter, quote, "He even walked the girl home. Does that sound like a dangerous criminal?"
Now, as the story goes, I think you're going to really,
This mom
is something special. You've never, ever, I don't think, heard of someone who can rationalize and enable and make excuses for their son better than this person.
She was walked home, Dylan.
He walked her home after he raped her. I mean, who the hell even thinks like that?
Does that sound like a monster?
Yeah, he didn't make her get a cab or nothing. I mean, what? They should have put her in jail for even saying that dumb shit.
It's some of the craziest shit I've heard. Todd underwent further psychological testing and was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. His IQ was tested at 118. The psychiatrist described Todd as being at a loss for his bad behavior. Todd would ask, quote, "Why am I like this? Why do I do things like this?" He admitted to the doctor that he had a low opinion of himself and that he was a bad person. Todd also expressed a small amount of remorse for hurting people. Recognizing Todd was smart but dangerous, the judge felt rehabilitation was not possible. A court officer who worked with Todd described him as, quote, "someone who felt the world owed him something." Neighbors expressed their concerns over Todd, referring to him as, quote, "a devil on a chain."
Wow.
And this was at the court proceedings. One woman described how Todd bashed her son's head onto clay pipes. I mean, this kid's a menace.
No, he's the type of kid no one wants their kid or teen to go around, because you never know what they're going to do. And they're just a time bomb, ticking time bomb.
In the end, the judge sentenced Todd to 15 years behind bars. The first few years in prison, Todd worked multiple jobs, but had infractions for fighting with other inmates and disrespecting guards. After serving 3 years, Todd asked for commutation of his sentence and gave detailed reasoning. He said, quote, "I feel I have shown I can change."
Yeah.
Quote, "All I want is one chance, the chance to become a productive and responsible member of society." During his time in prison, he received a role model certificate while working as a dishwasher. He was called a great asset by the unit coordinator. The request to commute his sentence, though, was denied.
Thank goodness.
In 1991, Todd thumbed his finger at a guard while a group of inmates left.
Thumbed his finger?
He thumbed his finger at a guard.
Okay.
That's how it was described.
Okay.
Later, he was missing from roll call, and he was seen running from the yard. A lockdown was put into place. Many of the details were redacted from his prison record of these, incidents that happened. In 1993, Todd was accused of trying to steal a screwdriver from another inmate. Todd and the other inmate were horseplaying when he tried to reach into the guy's pocket and take the screwdriver, which the other inmate had been issued this tool for a work assignment.
Right.
Yeah. A third inmate told officials that Todd had said he intended to, quote, stick someone with it.
Well, yeah, and if you're the inmate who's been issued the tool, you certainly don't want someone else to get it because I'm sure you're responsible for that. You got to turn it back in.
I recently watched Orange is the New Black for the first time.
Yeah.
And there was a whole incident of shenanigans with a screwdriver that's taken from the electric shop.
Right, and it's missing, and it was a big deal.
Yeah, and it kind of keeps popping up in episodes even after.
The screwdriver?
The screwdriver does, yeah. He stole and destroyed prison property. The majority of violations were minor, but he did have a major infraction for assaulting someone. But again, the details of that have been redacted, so I don't know if it was another inmate or a guard. After that, he seemed to calm down. He wrote letters asking that a ban be lifted on certain reading materials, like Maxim magazine. He said, quote, "I think your censorship of our reading material is getting to be a bit overzealous," to the warden.
Well, I think you're in jail, and we really don't care if you can't get the magazine you want, bud. Maybe if you don't commit crimes, you could be out there, reading all the Maxim magazine you want.
Yeah, like you're in prison, you're not going to get copies of Hustler and Guns and Ammo.
Look, people's like, well, the cruel and inhumane treatment. Man, when you're in there for rape, murder, or molestation or any of that, you should be in a special prison, right?
You're lucky you get to read.
You're lucky you get bread every day, buddy. I swear they should have a murderer, molester, rapist jail that's separate from everybody else. And they should get treated like, well, actually, the jail's going to be very efficient because we're just going to shoot them as they come through the door.
Stick a daily hot poker up your ass.
Yeah. Well, let's set up 9 rings of hell for you, you piece of shit.
Yes.
We'll find all the other sadists out there.
It's like Double Dare, but it's through all the Saw obstacle courses.
Yes. Oh, wow. I like that. Okay. And you get slimed at the end.
Yeah, if you can make it through.
Yeah, you get slimed.
Then you get to go to regular prison.
You don't even get out. You just get to go to regular prison?
Yeah.
Dude, I like this.
Otherwise, you just die on one of the Saw contraptions.
Well, we're going to hope you die.
This is my new justice. I'm all about justice reform. This is my new justice system.
I'm not saying it's impossible to end up prison and not be a monster. There's plenty of ways to end up there. But when you do, though, the big 3, let's call it the big 3, I have no use for you anymore. And I honestly don't think you should be breathing. So you should be, your least of your worries should be what literature you have to read.
Look, Todd's a big shitbird, okay? This is just the tip of the iceberg, bud. We're getting down. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. And by the end of this episode, you are going to hate Todd's stupid face.
Okay.
Todd attended Central Arizona College, earning certificates in microcomputer operating and microcomputer applied specialties.
Are those like really tiny computers?
Well, that's what I'm curious about.
Oh, that makes me think of micro machines.
That's exactly what I think about as well. I don't even know what like micro computing is.
That's why we're podcasters.
Later, Todd will lie, saying he received a bachelor's degree through Central Arizona College, which is only a 2-year community college that provides associate's degrees only. And he also will claim that he graduated top of his class.
So he was the only person that got a bachelor's from this 2-year program.
When he actually earned certificates.
Right. Well, hey, why not just say you got a master's in it, bud? I mean, if you're lying, right?
Once Todd is released from prison in 2001, he moves to South Carolina. He changes his name back to Kohlhepp from Samsel. Todd found work at Seven Sons and Company in Spartanburg, South Carolina as a graphic designer. He would hold this job for 2 years because he lied on his resume. No one will know that Todd had spent time in prison.
Yeah, you know what? They don't check those resumes as hardcore as a lot of places don't. I mean, you can just make up your work history and everything. Yeah, they think I'm a Michelin star chef. They're calling me to run kitchens all over the place.
No, they're not.
And I've only worked in a kitchen for like a week and a half between 2 places.
No, that's
they
not
are
true.
Because I lied on my resume.
Who? I've not seen anyone call you.
Well, you'll find out.
The only person that tried to call you was about your car's extended warranty.
Yeah, they say I'm real good with the sauces.
On his social media profile, Todd listed working at Arizona Consumer Industries from January of 91 through September of 2001 as a graphic designer with emphasis on print media, vinyl graphics, and engraving. The Arizona Corrections website shows that Kohlhepp worked for the Arizona Correctional Industries. Instead of the consumer industries, it's the correctional industries.
Oh.
Which was a prison vocational program.
Ah, the correctional industries. I like that.
In 2003, Todd enrolled at Greenville Technical College. On November 6th of 2003, a man named Kelly Sisk had returned from a National Guard mission. That's when he loaded up his 4-year-old son to head to Chesney, South Carolina, to the Superbike Motorsports, which was a shop. And he was going there to pay a note for a go-kart he had purchased.
Ah, yes.
Sykes was in the shop for around 30 minutes, and he noticed a male customer who seemed to be giving the staff a hard time. But he didn't pay a whole lot of attention to this guy.
Yeah, he's just trying to pay for his go-kart and get on with his business.
Well, yeah, and just kind of wandering around. I mean, he said typically when he stopped in to pay the bill, he would peruse for 30, 40 minutes, maybe chew the fat with some of the employees.
Yeah, some cats love looking at the new model 4-wheelers and stuff like that.
Motorcycles,
And
dirt
man,
bikes.
If I could have ever gotten one of those big bubblegum tire go-karts, they used to be out like in front of tire places.
Oh, I remember those.
You know, with the bright tube, frame. And
My son had one.
Oh, my gosh.
It was bright yellow. It looked like a big banana
I would have given my left arm for one of them.
when he was younger.
Gosh, they were so cool, man.
His dad had kind of fixed it up for him.
Right.
He would drive it around their really large backyard.
It's flying.
Yeah.
Having a blast.
Having the time of his life. I was always jealous. I wanted to ride the go-kart.
You should have rode it.
So before Sisk arrives back at his home, murders were already reported on the news.
Really?
So let's talk about this, Dylan. When I say murders. A customer and a friend of this superbike shop named Noel Lee had phoned asking if he could come by and hang out. Apparently this Superbike Motorsports was a place where bike enthusiasts like to gather socially. As Scott Ponder, the owner, was always really eager to talk about bikes.
So they're having parking lot
So this
parties.
is kind of a place where a lot of guys would just stop in, hang out, shoot the breeze.
Impress each other with their knowledge of bikes.
So they're telling him, yeah, come on down. Well, 10 minutes later, he walks into the shop to find a disturbing scene, Dylan. 4 people were gunned down inside the Superbike store. The shop's owner, 30-year-old Scott Ponder, his 52-year-old mother, Beverly Guy, who served as the bookkeeper, were found shot to death along with 30-year-old service manager Brian Lucas and 26-year-old mechanic Chris Sherbert.
So he's expecting, as usual, to get, go down there and hang out, have a good time, exchange some knowledge. And he walks into a house of horrors, basically.
Yes. Law enforcement scours the shop for a week. They closed down Paris Bridge Road for 3 days looking for clues. The place was dusted for fingerprints and potential witnesses were interviewed with Sisk and Noel Lee and a few others. Investigators found 18 shell casings made out of brass and nickel, which fit a 9mm gun, but there were no prints on these shell casings. Chris Sherbert was shot while prepping a Suzuki motorcycle in the back. Beverly was found by the showroom entrance, kind of between like a bathroom door and the showroom, almost as if she had walked out of the bathroom.
Right.
Scott and Brian appeared to be running out of the front door, like at the time of the shooting, like they were trying to
Get
escape.
away.
Yeah. Strangely enough, law enforcement noted nothing was taken from the shop, including an envelope that had cash just sitting out in the open. So
What?
not a robbery.
Not a robbery. Someone was pissed off and they came there to kill people.
Well, obviously, law enforcement was baffled because there seemed to be no motive.
Which, as for an investigator, where do you go? I
Like,
mean,
where
what,
do you start?
You have no clues. I mean, it would just it really throw you.
Because you would assume this would be robbery.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
you always think a robbery gone bad because you typically don't think that their intent is to someone's intent is to kill 3 or 4 people. And then you think, oh, they didn't cooperate with the robber, which is still would be a lot for someone who's just out to rob, to shoot 3 or 4 people. That's a lot, and that never happens like that.
Scott's wife, Melissa Ponder, was pregnant with their son at the time of the murders. In the weeks after the murder, she was brought several times to the police station for questioning. And in one of these incidents, after the baby was born, Melissa had brought her newborn son into the police station and she had changed the baby's diaper. Law enforcement gathered the diaper to conduct some DNA testing.
Wow.
The case stalled as deputies became convinced that Melissa had had an affair with another man. The DNA taken from Scott Ponder did not match the baby, but Brian Lucas's DNA did.
They done figured all this out by a dirty diaper. Man, some investigator was on point that day.
Oh, just wait, Dylan. Melissa denied having an affair, asking police to perform a second DNA test. She's like, there is no way my baby belongs to Brian Lucas.
Yeah, he was wearing someone else's diaper.
It came back with similar results. And at that point, Melissa stopped cooperating with law enforcement and lawyered up. But this false narrative led police away from the real perpetrator. After repeatedly and aggressively questioning Melissa Ponder, law enforcement realized they had somehow mixed up the DNA samples between Scott and Brian.
Shut up. So she was right?
Scott Ponder was the child's father after all.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that because I was just about going to the big tangent about she'd only been, if she'd been cooperative and truthful, maybe... But she was right. So she
was honest the whole time.
She's pissed because
yes,
they got it wrong.
They did.
But they're insisting even after multiple tests.
And they've made these accusations that are completely unfounded.
Mixing up DNA samples?
Yeah, and it was only when they tested Scott's DNA against his mother's that they realized that they had mixed up Scott and Brian's DNA.
Look, you're not supposed to play 3-card Monty with the DNA samples, bud.
Right?
You're supposed to mark it and chain of command and all that.
Well, it's pretty scary when you're in the midst of a murder investigation and you can't even keep positive control of your evidence.
No, that's very disturbing.
Later, it will be discovered that Todd Kohlhepp visited the shop multiple times. He was a customer known for always complaining and just bitching about something, Dylan.
Yeah, and these are the types of customers people always remember. It's like that butthole who always complains and carries on, causes a big scene.
Melissa would later say, quote, "I was told he was a disgruntled customer." Todd had purchased a motorcycle from the shop, but it had been stolen. Like right after he bought it.
What's the shop got to do with that?
He returned to get another bike. Now, at that point, Scott and Brian were kind of poking fun at him, asking, "Didn't you get enough already? Is this bike going to get stolen too?"
So they're just carrying on with the guy, giving him some hell.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was I'm going to guess, in good fun, because that is something that is abnormal. Someone to buy a new bike and then come in and buy another new bike because the other one's gotten stolen. So they're just carrying on.
Well, they were kidding, but these jabs angered Todd. Guy can't take a joke.
No, they were kidding with the wrong person.
After purchasing a second bike, Todd admittedly didn't know how to ride it. So he asked these guys to teach him, and Reggie says they sent her son, quote, down a big field with plants this high, and he fell off, and they laughed and laughed at him. When Todd wanted to return the bike because he didn't know how to ride it, he demanded a refund. Scott Ponder refused to refund the money. He was like, no, you bought it.
Yeah.
We don't take returns on motorcycles here, bud.
That's probably, some displayed somewhere in the shop, I'm sure, about as far as refunds and stuff like that go, and things like that, because
you probably should know how to ride a motorcycle before you buy one.
Well, and in this type of industry, you can assess, because people wreck bikes. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Even if you know how to ride a bike, people showing their ass on a bike or something like that. So it doesn't surprise me. I've noticed in every motorsport shop I've ever been in, they don't take returns.
No, they don't.
Because people bang them up, people swap out parts. I mean, it'd be bad business for them to accept returns.
So after they refused to refund the money, that is when I keep wanting to say Scott. That is when Todd went to his vehicle and got a gun, Dylan.
Oh, okay. That's not going to help the situation any.
He returns Dylan by entering through the back door, killing mechanic Chris Sherbert first. He then shot Beverly outside the bathroom door and Lucas by the main doorway. He saved Scott Ponder for last, shooting him dead just outside in the store parking lot, where he'd clearly been running for his life.
So he didn't leave and come back. As soon as he's told no,
He basically just goes outside, gets a gun, and slips back in.
and comes back in and starts shooting
Comes
everyone.
in the back door.
Oh my
instead
God.
of the front door.
Wow.
Reggie said, quote, he wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle, and they laughed at him when he fell over on the bike. You know, this is why people tell kids not to bully. This is what can happen. Todd was bullied and embarrassed, and I think he just held it in long enough. This mom!
Reggie, you gotta stop.
Making excuses for your fuck-up son.
Even if I
who's
had...
a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah.
I don't care if they did make fun of your dumb son. Like, he has no right to go in there and shoot these people.
He just killed multiple people.
4 people.
4 people.
This is a quadruple murder.
But I'm sorry, this woman lost all credibility with me when she says he walked his rape victim home. Like that's supposed to, I mean, she's a moron.
Well, she's dead.
Good. No, I'm sorry, but this woman's ridiculous.
She is ridiculous.
I've never heard an enabling parent this bad.
She's part of the problem.
I mean,
hey, lady, this is why your son's a piece of shit.
This is definitely why your son's a piece of shit. One of the reasons.
His mother remained a Todd apologist even years later when learning that her son was responsible for the decades-long cold case at the Superbike store. She rationalized the behavior, same as when Todd got into trouble at preschool. It was always someone else's fault. Poor Todd.
Gosh,
She's so misunderstood.
She's like all those men over the years that, basically said a woman got what she deserved because she wore a halter top and then she gets raped.
I'm sure that Reggie probably believes that as well.
This is what Reggie would say. Oh, well, she shouldn't have showed Todd her shoulders. He couldn't control himself.
He's seen them ankles. So after the bike shop murders, Todd continued on with his life as if nothing had happened. Because this goes unsolved for some years.
Right, and that's a part I think I need to,
Well, we're going to get to that, Dylan.
No, but yeah, that's crazy.
In 2006, Todd received a pilot's license. And we don't know where he was flying. But homeboy had a pilot's license and apparently was up in an airplane going places.
Homeboy does not need to be operating an airplane.
He transferred to the University of South Carolina, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in business administration. He had also received a real estate license in South Carolina by lying on his application, not admitting that he was a registered sex offender, because they do not issue licenses to sex offenders.
Well, yeah, because in realty, that's a very bad problem. It's very dangerous for realtors going around. We've had a case or two over the years of Mount Murders that was, people setting up realtors and attacking them in these empty homes.
He often explained his charges in Arizona as being, quote, full of lies. The gun possession was only because they were trying to crack down on gun violence, he said.
Right.
He had been walking the girl home when her parents had him arrested for kidnapping, and he just happened to have this gun on him, so it was a trumped-up charge.
Oh, so they were just out on a date, huh?
Oh, yeah. Well, he claims they were together, they were a couple and had broken up, but they were still friends. And they were just out on a walk.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is full of shit.
He's so full of shit.
While employed at Weicker Realty, Todd was a top-performing regional salesman. He would charm customers with his jolly, good old boy personality. But his clients were often kind of noting how Todd could go off on these tangents about guns and pepper conversations with sexual innuendos. Several female clients who met with Todd to list their properties ended up switching real estate agents because Todd made them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was their instincts telling them to get the hell away from this guy.
Tammy Whaley met Todd once when a friend who herself had described him as being arrogant, smart, and someone who talked about guns incessantly, suggested that Tammy use him as a real estate agent. Just 15 minutes into the conversation about listing her home for sale, Whaley determined she did not like Todd. She said, quote, "He made me feel uncomfortable. I would never doubt my intuition."
That's right. You got a gut feeling for a reason.
In January of 2007, Todd bought his home on Winsong Way in Moore, South Carolina for $137,500. By now, Todd had started his own real estate agency, TKA Real Estate, which employed dozens of agents, and he worked from his new home.
How?
He would often sit in his home office watching porn and masturbating.
How in the world does this dude lie about being a realtor or lie about everything and then open his own agency? And it sounds like it was successful to a degree.
There wasn't as enough scrutiny, or wasn't as much scrutiny back then. I'm not sure.
Now, granted, there are
Seems
times.
like they just granted his application and didn't really run a background check on this guy.
Well, just the people willing to work underneath his umbrella. But, sometimes you can't, in some areas especially, it seems like it comes and goes in cycles. You can't throw a rock without hitting a real estate agent. So there's a lot of them out there. You know what I'm saying?
Those who had business dealings consistently painted a different picture of the successful realtor. They said he was domineering, an egocentric bragger who talked about his BMWs and guns. A woman who worked in the advertising department for a Greenville news publication where Todd frequently bought advertising described him as rude and not a nice guy. Kohlhepp would often yell, scream, and cuss at the employees at the advertising department over the phone, and he spoke very condescendingly to these people.
He sounds like a real winner. Now, if you went on a blind date with Todd here, and all he wants to talk about is his 5 Series BMW and guns, what would you think about that?
I would say I was going to the bathroom, and then I would just never come back.
Oh my gosh. You better go into hiding.
I would also give him a fake name.
You give him a fake name?
I'd tell him, you can call me Al.
Tell him your name's Barbarello.
Barbarella?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. A client named Roberta Shaughnessy said Todd made off-color jokes. She didn't suspect a violent nature, but had seen Todd flustered several times while conducting business. He was always complaining and whining to her about, quote, deadbeats who didn't pay their rent. He does a lot of property management.
Oh, okay.
Michael Foster, an assistant pastor at a church in Spartanburg, rented one of Todd's managed properties. He said there was no credit or background check and that payments were typically made at a UPS store in Spartanburg. Todd Kohlhepp, he said, was, quote, a creepy dude who made everything about himself. Foster said Todd was someone, quote, you needed to manage his presence around you so you don't get managed.
Wow. So he even creeps out guys.
Yeah, a pastor.
A pastor.
The church pastor.
You're talking about as a creepy dude. So this guy just has this air about him, and he thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm sure he's a full-blown narcissist as well, being insane, a monster predator. But yeah, it's like everyone around him is that he can put that veneer on, pull the mask down if he wants to. And I'm sure that's what helped him in the realty thing. He could charm you and probably in small
Yes.
spates,
Well,
right?
it seems like anyone who spent a certain amount of time with Todd walked away like rolling their eyes. This guy's just a braggart.
So even if they don't think he's a full-on creep asshole, they just think he's kind of a douche.
Well, nobody wants to listen to somebody talk about themselves constantly.
God, man,
And I don't want to hear you talk about guns or your car.
Look,
Shut the fuck up.
it's abnormal to talk about guns all the time. I don't care who you are. I'm sorry. It's weird. And again, with me and Heather, Mountain Murder Studio, we support gun ownership. You can have a tank. I don't care how many bullets you want. None of that bothers me. You can have 50 different kinds of guns. You can have big guns, small guns, little guns, stinky guns,
Oily guns,
sticky guns,
rusty guns.
You can have all the guns. But just,
Water
don't let
guns.
that become your personality.
Guns.
You can have pew-pew guns.
You can have the bullet bra gun,
Dude,
like in Austin Powers.
that was the
That's
best.
what I want.
Yeah, but nobody wants to hear about it all the time, dude. Like, get a personality.
I want titty guns.
Titty guns.
My titties are so saggy, Dylan. I could probably put a pistol of some kind under the titty and then put the boobie down, and it would just stay.
Well, honey, I think your titties are beautiful.
Well, I'm just saying.
I love them.
That's a good hiding place. I have titty guns.
That'd be a great place. You could put a little Derringer under there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Maybe a little 38.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So Kohlhepp maintained a strong social media presence, and those communications were often dark, ominous, and threatening. For example, Dylan, he would post about how he would hope that the Ebola virus would wipe out more people.
Okay.
And, he hated people who couldn't drive. I mean, he was always ranting and raving and talking about how the people he didn't like in the world deserved to die.
More people should die from Ebola. He's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a great guy.
In May of 2014, Todd purchased a 95-acre property in Woodruff, South Carolina. Wilton Lawrence sold the property to Todd for $305,632. Todd didn't want anything to do with anybody who lived nearby this chunk of property. Before Todd had purchased the property, a lot of locals would sometimes walk the property. It's just a big wooded acreage.
That's a big chunk of property.
With trails, right?
Yeah.
So, neighbors would go walk here. But when Todd buys this property, he does not want anyone on it. So he erects an $80,000 fence in order to keep people off the property.
So he put a perimeter fence around the entire property.
He did.
Wow.
He also had a gate put in place with a lock at the entrance.
Okay. I see what you're doing, Todd. You don't want me walking through your woods no more, do you?
No, he
Well, you
does
know
not.
what? And if they get to know you, they wouldn't even come walk around your woods because you're a butt munch.
Right around the time Todd bought the property, an Amazon account associated with him showed purchases for items like padlocks, tactical gear, targets, knives, gun accessories, and books about snipers and emergency war surgery.
Oh, wow.
The account also left chilling reviews for items, and I'm going to post some screenshots of these reviews on our Instagram account. Yeah.
What?
In one review about a knife posted on September 13th of 2014, he said, quote, "Haven't stabbed anyone yet, ... yet, ... but I keep the dream alive. And when I do, it will be with a quality tool like this."
I hate to say, but I think that kind of review would push people to buy the knife.
For a shovel with a folding handle, and this is like one of those small shovels. Honestly, it looks like one of those little shovels you would take out on a trail, a little pooper scooper.
Yeah, it's a little folding utility shovel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he bought one of these and he wrote, quote, "Keep it in car for when you have to hide the bodies and you left the full-size shovel at home. Does not come with midget, which would have been nice."
What? What are you going to do with the midget? Just have him carry your little shovel?
Maybe he was going to bury the midget with the shovel.
Well,
I don't know, Dylan. I'm not Todd.
Well, I'm sorry. For one, Todd shouldn't be saying midget, and neither should I.
They're little people.
They're little
I'm
awesome
only
people.
saying it for the purposes of the story.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Todd's full of shit on that one because it'd take forever to dig a proper hole with this little tiny shovel. I know it's that kind of shovel he's talking about. It's good for burying poop and maybe etching out a little defensive position.
Or when Dylan murders a tiny bird, he could make a little bird grave with it.
I did bury that bird. I had a funeral and everything.
Good.
Yeah.
On January 4th of 2015, on a set of padlocks, he wrote, quote, "Works great. Also, if someone talks back, go old school on them by putting this in a sock and beating them. They will not appreciate the hardened steel like you will."
Oh, see, again, these are chilling, but he is bringing up some great qualities in the product in his insane, crazy.
I mean, they're funny.
Reviews.
Okay.
Talking about they want to appreciate the tempered
Like
steel.
if you ever want to laugh your ass off, go read the reviews on a 5-pound bag of Haribo gummy bears on Amazon.
Really?
The reviews are hilarious.
I mean, okay, I'm going to check that out.
Okay, moving along. While Todd's sinister nature would only occasionally seep through when the mask slipped, his obsession with the opposite sex remained uncontrollable. He would frequent restaurants around this time, leering at waitresses. He would leave large tips and invite the servers back to his home. Many of the women who encountered Todd Kohlhepp thought he was creepy.
And all they wanted was just the tip, and they want Todd to leave.
One of his favorite dining destinations was Waffle House in Roebuck, South Carolina, where he ordered 6 eggs double cheesy.
Oh, that's a lot of eggs at once.
It was at Waffle House that Todd met 26-year-old Megan McGraw-Coxey, one of the waitresses on staff. Megan was married to a 29-year-old man named Johnny Coxey. The pair had a history of drug use and often panhandled around town to get money for drugs. Johnny had been arrested and cited with child endangerment, driving under the influence, possession of drug paraphernalia, and open container. Megan was in the front passenger seat, and there were 2 children in the car. Megan had also been arrested for child neglect after her newborn, that she'd had with her husband Johnny, tested positive for heroin. Megan admitted that she used heroin during the first 6 months of pregnancy and had since started using again after the child's birth. The child was placed into the care of others by the social services in Spartanburg County.
I don't believe her. I don't think she stopped her. The kid wouldn't have tested positive for heroin after another trimester. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
Todd was a frequent customer of Megan's at the Waffle House, but she'd gotten bad vibes from him and would often ask a male cook to ring up Todd's tickets in her place so she didn't have to talk to him. In December of 2015, Megan called her mother asking to be bailed out of jail so she could get back to work. It was the last time her mother would hear from Megan. 11 months later, Megan and Johnny's families will learn of their fate. No connection would be made between Todd Kohlhepp and the missing couple, much like in the Superbike murders. Once again, Todd was getting away with his crimes. Emboldened, Todd pushed the envelope one more time. Todd would hire Kayla Brown, a U.S. Army veteran, and her boyfriend, Charlie Carver, to do some cleaning on August 31st of 2016. Todd had known Kayla and had paid her to do some commercial cleaning for him in the past.
So at this point, Todd has, 6 bodies under his belt?
Yes, Dylan, we have the 4 employees of the bike store and then this missing married couple. And we'll get into more of that in a moment.
And Todd's literally getting away with murder for years.
Now, typically, Todd would send a GPS location for Kayla, but this time he asked her to meet him at the 95-acre property in Woodruff. Todd unlocked the fence and they followed behind his car up the drive about half a mile. When they came to a 2-story, it's been described as a barn and then in other documents described as a garage, but it's just like kind of this big weird building.
Yeah, this part, I actually remember when the story broke.
It doesn't really look like a garage to me. It looks, a barn. It looks to me more like a garage or like some really big storage building.
Yeah, it's a weird building and there's stuff kind of just piled around. It's not, the property is a big property and he spent all this money on a fence.
It's mostly wooded property.
Right, but it's kind of stuff piled around, like almost like junk, honestly. It's kind of rough looking.
So they pull up. There's this 2-story building with a large storage container to the side, like one of those big metal shipping containers.
Okay.
Okay. So Todd gave the couple instructions about clearing some underbrush on a few trails that were around this building. He handed Kayla and her boyfriend a set of clippers, like hedge clippers, and also some bottles of water.
Okay.
They're going to be working outside.
So as far as they know, he has a job they want him to do, and he's ready for them to get started.
Yeah, and I actually watched an interview with Kayla Brown on Dr. Phil. You can find clips from YouTube or on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I watched this interview, and she said there was nothing that led her to feel out of place or like she wasn't safe. She said the only thing is when they pulled onto the property, he locked the gate behind them.
Right.
But she didn't even think that was so weird.
No, you might rationalize that as just he has a habit of always keeping the gate shut and locked. And I mean, I'm sure this fence is very noticeable, imposing, if you will. And so, yeah, that wouldn't really throw you off. So he's, in my opinion, he's acting, or he's trying to go out of his way to make them not feel nervous or anything like that.
But before the couple set off to work, Todd told them just to wait one more second. He needed to go inside the building for something. So they're just standing outside of this garage, like waiting on Todd to come back out.
Okay.
Just a matter of seconds, the couple's waiting patiently, not thinking anything was amiss, until Todd emerged with a gun. He fired at Charlie Carver without giving the man time to react. According to Todd's mother, he was shot because, quote, he had a really smart mouth.
Fucking Todd's mother, dude. So Todd just comes out the door shooting, basically.
Yes.
At Charlie.
Todd shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest. Kayla Brown didn't know what to do. She stood frozen as her boyfriend dropped to the ground dead.
Wow. I mean, what do you do? I mean, gosh, that's so far out of the norm.
Yeah.
You know?
Todd Kohlhepp then grabbed Brown, placing her into a headlock. He said, quote, "I'll kill you if you don't come with me."
Well, how could you not believe him? You just watch him murder your boyfriend right in front of you for no reason, as far as you know.
Kayla, who was in a state of shock at this time, complied. He said, quote, "It's easier to control someone when you take someone they love. And if you fight, I'll kill you too," he told her.
Oh my gosh. I mean, just sheer terror's flowing through your mind. I mean, what else can you think?
Todd then dragged Kayla inside this garage where he sexually assaulted her. He then took Kayla into the metal shipping container next door and chained her up. He told Kayla he didn't want to hurt her. After this, he showed up at the property once a day to feed her. During the 2 months that Kayla Brown was held in captivity, she said Todd described the other bodies, aside from her boyfriend Charlie Carver, that were buried on the property. He told her about Megan Coxey, quote, "She pissed me off, so I killed her."
Gosh, so she's trapped, bound in this shipping container, which in South Carolina heat, which is not going to be a very good situation. I mean, I don't even know what to think. You're locked in there. I mean, I doubt the creature comforts are taken care of, so it's probably dark. Who knows what you're hearing? Chained in there in the night, all by yourself. You're in this big property. 95 acres is a chunk of land. I don't know where the building and stuff situated in that land, but there's no one can hear you.
About a half a mile from the gate.
Wow. So it's inside the property.
Secluded.
It's secluded. You have this huge fence, this big fence all the way around. You have this asshole guy who's made sure that no one comes around poking around and all that. So there's no one there to help you. You can't scream for help. I mean, my God.
This is like a compound.
This is like something out of Hostel.
Yep. So he, throughout this 2 months, tells Kayla Brown about Megan Coxey and Johnny. So once Megan had gotten out of jail, at some point she had some sort of contact or communication with Todd, and he offered her a job to earn a little extra money.
Right.
Lures Megan and her her husband Johnny to the property, immediately kills Johnny, and does the same thing to Megan Coxey. He rapes her, and he puts her in this container.
Until he claims she finally pissed him off or did something.
So he keeps her alive for a week after she's missing, before he shoots and kills her.
Jeez. And you're being told this as you're being, assaulted. Your boyfriend's already been killed in front of you. You're being chained and held captive in this shipping container. I mean, damn, I don't even know. I could honestly, a person could almost die of fright in a situation like this. I mean, seriously, this extended torture.
This is my nightmare.
Yeah, this is horrible.
I don't ever want to be chained up in a small space.
I was blown away. I remember when this story broke and it being near us.
Yes.
And I was blown away.
Same.
I mean,
could not believe it. During their 2 months together, and I use that term loosely, Todd would tell Kayla about his previous crimes and outlandish stories about how the government had used him to kill people when he was in prison. He bragged that his kill count was near 3 digits.
Okay.
Kayla Brown would remain in prison for 2 months, as I mentioned. He placed her inside what has been described as a shark tank. It was like a metal cage, like the kind you would put in the water to protect yourself from sharks.
I thought she was in a big aquarium.
You thought
When
she
said
was there.
shark.
You thought she was there to pitch a
Yeah.
product.
Yeah, I thought,
A business opportunity.
Mark Cuban wants to go with her and he wants to support her business.
No. So he puts her in this like weird metal cage. Okay. And he chains her neck and ankles to the bars. And this is inside that large shipping container.
Right.
Yeah.
And he can close the big old heavy metal door and, keep her under control.
Finally, police were able to trace cell phones belonging to Kayla Brown and Charlie Carver, and they ping at this piece of property. That's where they last pinged.
After months.
After 2 months.
They finally get access, because it takes time. You have
Yeah.
to do warrants and all that to get access to this information. And so finally the police have received this information back from the telecommunications company, and they can see where it pinged the last time it was on.
Police arrive at this property. They cut the lock on the front gate and come in.
Wow.
And they begin hearing noises coming from the metal container. Spartanburg County Sheriff Chuck Wright said, quote, "She was banging very hard on the container. She was bound. She was distraught and panicked."
She hears other people, and I'm going to assume she realized very quickly it was not Todd outside.
Well, at first, Kayla didn't realize the people outside the container were law enforcement. She had gotten accustomed to Todd popping by early in the morning with food, then leaving her there until the next day. At first, when she heard someone fiddling with the lock, she assumed it was Todd. But after hearing multiple voices, she realized it was not her captor when one of them said, quote, "We need to check for her in the other building."
Oh, gosh. Could you imagine the elation, this feeling?
That's when Kayla started screaming and pounding on the walls.
Gosh, they're here to save me.
One of the officers on scene, an Anderson City police officer named Bradley Whitfield, said, quote, "I was shocked and amazed. It was a surreal moment for everyone involved. When police opened the container, Kayla was grateful to see the uniformed officers instead of Todd. She looked at one of the detectives and said, 'Thank you so much for finding me.'"
So they pulled the door back, and I'm sure they're still not prepared for what they're about to see. This woman inside of a metal cage, chained down to it, at multiple points. And I'm
there
sure
are several like dog beds piled up for a bed.
Wow.
There's a blanket in there. He's left her with a couple books and some reading material. I think there was a fan
And some Maxim magazines.
inside, and like some Ritz crackers and like just a few little snacks.
So he was doing
And
just
some water.
enough to keep her alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to imagine she was in looked horrible and probably likely emaciated looking. Been through all this torture. Yeah, wow. I bet they were blown away when they flung those doors open.
Kayla Brown immediately tells law enforcement how Todd Kohlhepp had murdered her boyfriend, Charlie Carver, and that he was the one that had chained her up, that he had sexually assaulted her multiple times while she had been in captivity. During a search of the property, Charlie's car was found discarded into a ravine and covered up with brush. Authorities would also find the remains of Megan and her husband, Johnny Coxey, who were fully clothed, buried in a shallow grave next to Charlie Carver, and they actually had to be identified by their tattoos and with dental work. At Todd's compound, police would find an arsenal of weapons, including 9mm pistols modified with suppressors, assault rifles, and loads of ammunition. And in this container alone, it was like he was stockpiling what I would call like a prepper.
So there was more than just her in the container. There was a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And in the garage, he had pallets of, paper towels and canned food.
Water and stuff like that.
Yes.
And a bunch of guns and ammo.
Yeah, and tactical gear.
Man.
Like as if he was preparing for some apocalyptic event. I mean, it's very strange.
No, it's very strange. It doesn't surprise me that he's one of those, and hey, I'm all for prepping. I've done a little bit myself, but certainly not to this level.
What are you prepping? You just loading up on beer and cigarettes?
I'm prepping my body. My body is a bug out bag.
I see that.
I don't have to get anything. If I'm cut off from my other supplies, I can live for, I don't know, maybe possibly months.
Your body will fuel itself?
Yeah.
You do have some little chunky pockets there, bud.
Well, hey, that's, You know how people bulk up before they go on Naked and Afraid?
Yeah.
So they can make it through the starvation
so you've been
period?
carb and beer loading this whole time.
Yeah, you didn't know that. It was all for the greater good.
I see. Okay.
You can live off me.
I don't want to eat. No, that meat's too fatty. I like my meat lean.
Well, that's true, but there's parts of me that's lean.
I like a filet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get some of that thigh muscle.
What, that tiny little rump roast you got?
No, that's not. No, you're not going to Albert Fish me, you son bitch.
What is that, like a little snack?
No, yeah, it's just a little, it's a hors d'oeuvre.
That rump ain't enough to eat.
No, but
I can't live off that.
You can live off these thighs, girl.
Maybe.
For a long time. Look at you. You mouth watering right now.
That's true.
You want to have a little bite of this, don't you?
Sexy.
Yeah, put some Franks on it.
I'm going to smear you up with some barbecue sauce.
No, you better put hot sauce on me now. And some pepper.
What if it burns?
Because you like it spicy.
You have sensitive skin.
I do have sensitive skin, but if you're eating me at that point, you're not going to worry about me breaking out into a rash.
Well, I'm not going to eat your rashed up skin.
Well, it wouldn't rash up till later.
Ew. Gross.
Well, just don't put any barbecue sauce
Look,
on me.
bud, I don't want to be a cannibal. Todd was arrested at his home without incident. And there's actually body cam footage of the arrest on
Wow.
YouTube. It's
Yeah.
like an hour long, and I
Yeah.
watched some of it.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. While in custody, Todd admitted to the unsolved Superbike murders back in 2003. He also confessed to the murders of Megan and Johnny, along with Charlie Carver, if a few conditions were met. He's like, I will confess to all this.
Wow. So they didn't even have any idea about the Superbike murders, yeah?
No idea.
His connection.
No idea. So first, he wanted to speak with his mother. Secondly, he asked if it was possible to transfer money to a friend's daughter for a college fund.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And he wanted to give his mother a picture, a photograph.
Yeah, get my mama Reggie down here. She can explain all this.
Well, they agreed to allow him to do these things.
Well, I
but
mean,
they got the full confession out of him.
well, hey, you know what? And then they could recover that money and give it to the victims' families.
When Todd met with his mother, Reggie, he confessed to the crimes, admitting that he had committed 7 murders in 10 years. He would be charged with 4 counts of murder in the Superbike case and 1 count of kidnapping Kayla Brown. Despite her son admitting to being a serial killer, Reggie said, quote, Todd was not a monster. He's not even close to it. He wasn't doing it, murdering people for enjoyment. He was doing it because he was mad and he was hurt.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, Reggie. Why was he charged with 7 counts of murder?
Hold up.
I'm mad
Quit
now.
jumping ahead.
Okay.
You let me talk.
I'm going to let you talk on your
Gosh,
podcast show.
If you'll shut up, I can finish telling the story, Dylan.
I want to fight Reggie. I wish he wasn't dead. For real. I'd be like, what is your deal?
You gonna fight her 70-year-old ass?
I would fight. That would be one elderly person I hit because I'd be like, you dumb.
It is believed that Todd may have shot someone else in Arizona. He is also a person of interest in the 2003 Blue Ridge Savings Bank robbery and triple homicide in Greer, South Carolina.
Wow.
So let's talk about this. The Blue Ridge Savings Bank was located in a trailer alongside Highway 14, just off of Interstate 85.
That's going to give some people pause, a bank in a trailer. But I know they're talking about like them utility trailers, like they would add on classrooms and things like that.
Well, this was in Greer, South Carolina. On Friday, May 16th of 2003, a 56-year-old bank teller named Sylvia Holtzclaw was working alone at the bank. She was supposed to be off earlier, but a coworker had called out that afternoon, and she was covering their shift. So wrong place, wrong time.
Bad luck.
Just before 1:30 p.m., 61-year-old Dr. Ebb Barnes and his wife, 58-year-old Maggie Barnes, both educators, entered the building. The couple planned to move money into an IRA account. Around 1:30 p.m., the panic button was pushed, which signaled to law enforcement there was a robbery in progress at the small bank. Within minutes of the alarm sounding, law enforcement arrived at the bank to find 3 people huddled in a back room, shot to death. Authorities determined the motive had been robbery. The perpetrator entered into the bank set on robbing Sylvia, but had been surprised by the Barnes. Despite an extensive investigation, few leads turned up.
So he was expecting just one bank worker to be there, which this is crazy. I've never heard of a bank allowing one employee to be working, no matter what the circumstances are. And then this other couple just happens to be in the wrong place, wrong time, trying to do some good deed or whatever, move money. See, I wouldn't have to worry about this. I don't have any savings, so I'm never going to be caught up in the bank.
Good luck. Good for you.
No, I'm just saying. That's how I'm not going to get killed by Todd, bud.
Good luck being broke.
Well, hey, broke people's alive, okay? We alive.
That's makes no sense,
Well,
but okay.
It made sense to a lot of people out there.
Why don't you just be quiet? A suspect named Emerson Wright had stolen a car 2 weeks before the murders, and a similar vehicle was spotted near this bank robbery crime scene. Wright had used a .40 caliber Glock in some other robberies, which was the same kind of gun used in this triple homicide. However, Wright committed suicide in 2005 after fleeing from police, so he was never charged in the case. However, a witness described seeing a white man at the scene with short blonde hair. A camera at a local convenience store spotted a red car speeding away around the time of the murders. So there's a sketch of this white guy
Okay.
that had been seen there. And with police sketches, they never quite look like the person. So
they very seldom look like a human. I mean, they just look like.
It really doesn't look a whole lot like Todd. And the witness described this white man as being like in his 50s, and Todd would have been 30 at this, like in his 30s.
Okay, so this would not put them in the mind of Todd at all.
Todd Kohlhepp was charged with those 4 counts of murder in relation to the Superbike shootings and then 1 count of kidnapping. He was later charged with 3 additional murders of Charlie Carver and the Coxies. Relatives of the Superbike shootings filed a wrongful death lawsuit against him, and Caleb Brown filed a civil lawsuit as well. On May 26th of 2017, Todd Kohlhepp pled guilty to 7 counts of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of sexual assault. He was given 7 life sentences without the possibility of parole in a plea bargain that spared him from capital punishment. He is currently imprisoned at the Broad River Secure Facility. Although his defense swore there were no other victims on the property, Kohlhepp has since teased there were at least 2 other murders, but he's not given further details.
Whatever. This guy's alive in jail. Man, whatever, dude. Todd, I hope you're such a narcissist that you comb the web for people talking about you. And I hope you hear this. Hey, fuck you, Todd.
A man named Dustin Lawson was accused of buying firearms and silencers for Todd Kohlhepp, despite knowing he was a convicted felon. He admitted to buying at least 12 guns and silencers from 2012 to 2016, lying that they were for his own personal use.
Yeah.
He was sentenced to 8 years and 3 months in prison for the 36 federal firearm charges. He's actually scheduled to be released in November of this year.
I didn't know you could legally even buy silencers for real. I mean, I thought that's something you had to either do black market
they were
or
called suppressors. I'm not really sure.
Well, yeah, they can call them suppressors all they want.
Well,
but
I know.
we
I'm
what
saying they
do.
were calling them suppressors,
No.
but I don't know, Dylan.
Oh, you can though. I mean, I guess you can. It sounds like I thought you'd have to have a homemade one. Like a 2-liter bottle full
Like
of
a
tennis
potato.
balls. Yeah,
A potato.
a potato. I like that.
Yeah.
Does
When-
that work? Yeah, I'm going to try that.
Maybe. When Caleb, I can't tell you. I'd have to kill you.
Hey.
When Kayla Brown was transported to the hospital after the ordeal, she warned law enforcement that Todd had mentioned his next victim, a woman named Holly. There's actually video of her being transported in an ambulance to the hospital, and she's telling law enforcement, he told me he's going to kill a woman named Holly.
Check on it if you can.
Well, Holly Udy had been having an affair with Todd for 10 years and had given him the money to buy that big storage container.
What?
Yeah. She appeared on Inside Edition to discuss the ordeal and said, quote, "It's disgusting. I mean, it was sickening. She was shocked to hear that Todd was planning to kill her next."
So he wanted to kill his sugar mama too?
Udy met Todd in 2006, and she was married. Todd was a clean-cut real estate executive, and so, they kind of, I guess, felt an attraction, and they began an affair. But she never suspected he had already murdered 4 innocent people. She said, quote, "He gave me lots of attention, and he made me feel like I was important." Udy admitted this affair to her husband, and at the time of Todd's trial, they were expecting a child together.
Ugh, damn, girl. Damn, cheating's bad anyway. But you was cheating with a damn monster. And like, that's why you run around all the time talking about BMWs and guns, is because of your boyfriend.
Listen to this, Dylan. In an email written to Holly Udy, timestamped about 16 minutes after he was estimated to have murdered Charlie Carver, he said he was, quote, "exhausted from all the work he had done on his land that day."
Oh, yeah, he's so funny. I bet he really thought he was something, didn't he?
In letters written by Todd Kohlhepp to the New York Post, he called his victims criminals. He said Kayla Brown was a big criminal. He also said the Superbike shop was nothing more than a chop shop with $80,000 in cash sitting in a safe there.
Yeah, right.
Even in the end, Todd was rationalizing his crimes by blaming the victims. And he mentioned the fact that the Coxies were drug users and that he'd really just done the world a good deed by getting rid of them.
Yeah, and I assumed that was what he thought about those people. And what they had problems, but no one deserved what he did to anyone.
At the time of the Superbike shootings, Tom and Lorraine Lucas begged a friend to investigate the case privately. So the friend's investigation came up with a customer list from the last 10 months. Todd Kohlhepp's name was on that list, and it was highlighted since he had a criminal past. Yet the sheriff's office never took time to investigate this list compiled by the private investigator.
Damn. See, that's what I'm talking. It's the pissing contest, 'cause a lot of time cops view private investigators as like either washed up hacks or just, not as good as cops or whatever you want to call it.
Sometimes they're just retired.
Well, I'm just saying, but a lot of them are really good at what they do, and they're able to concentrate on things that other, investigators and police don't have time or the opportunity to do.
Well, it just goes to show if the sheriff's department had followed up and or had spent less time trying to accuse the widow Melissa Ponder of cheating on her husband and acting like she had something to do with the murders because of their mistake. Maybe they wouldn't have lost sight of the real killer here.
Yeah, you shouldn't juggle you juggle with DNA specimens, it turns out. They could have stopped this guy, because I'm going to tell you right now, if they had turned their eye on Todd, I don't think he would hold up under scrutiny. I don't think he could control himself if... I just think if he was interviewed, or especially a hard interview, I think Todd would lose it. I think his mask would slip, or I'm hoping, and they would be like,
well,
hey.
It didn't take much for him to admit to these 7 murders.
He was proud of the murders at the Superbike, the Superbike murders. He was proud to have done that.
On the 10th anniversary of the Superbike case, the department sent letters to customers. Todd Kohlhepp had received a letter, but law enforcement never followed up with him, and no one ended up responding to these letters. At the time, former FBI agent and serial killer profiler John Douglas was brought in to investigate the Superbike murders. Douglas suspects that Kohlhepp was actively killing others during this 12-year period between the Superbike murders and the 2015 murders of Megan and Johnny Coxey.
In his profile of whoever killed the Superbike victims.
Well, yeah, and then once they realized it was Todd, he
Oh.
met with Todd. He, kind of spoke with him and made a little write-up,
Okay.
about Todd. So he's like, this guy was killing between, in this 12-year period, he committed other murders.
And he did.
Well, we don't know.
Oh, other murders besides the ones he confessed to.
Did you hear anything that I just said,
No,
Dylan?
it confused me. Sorry.
Okay, well, let's talk about that again. During the 12-year period between the Superbike murders, which were in 2003,
Okay.
and the 2015 murders of Megan and Johnny Coxey,
Oh,
during that 12-year time period,
yeah.
he does not believe that was a cooling off period. He believes that Todd was actively killing other people during that time period, Dylan. Now do you understand?
I do now. I understand now, and I agree with him. Don't you? I think
I don't know. Now I'm confused.
No, you're not. I think it's highly probable he killed some other people.
Yeah,
this guy didn't stop.
Yeah, no, this guy's a fucking maniac.
He got away with murder. He had his mom in his ear like a little shitbird,
Like a little bitch.
like in his ear, talking about, "It's okay, Todd. Them people made you do it. They made you do it." I mean, the things that woman said about the things she rationalized with her son. I mean, it blows me away. I've never heard of such.
Well, we have heard of such.
Well,
But
yeah,
these parents are something else.
Yeah, she's something else.
Todd Kohlhepp had claimed to be part of a hunt club that tracks down and kills people for sport, and discussed with investigators his trips to Juarez, Mexico.
Oh my gosh! So it really could be like hostile.
Investigators did vet these claims to see if they could have been possible, and found they were a possibility.
Shut up.
That it's possible Todd had traveled there. I mean, again, he's got a pilot's license.
He had a pilot's license. He had some money.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, Juarez is very. I mean, there's been some really violent things happen around Juarez.
No, absolutely.
Some horrible things.
There are like over 400 murdered and missing women in Juarez.
Mass graves. All kinds of things have been found there.
I was listening to a podcast on those murders. I don't know. It's probably been last summer.
Yeah.
It's really disturbing.
Very disturbing.
Now, after Todd, has gone to prison, he wrote a journalist named Maria Oz, and he said, quote, "I'm not really sure if I want the public to know how many I've killed."
This guy.
Because he is claiming that there are other bodies. The families of Megan and Johnny Coxey have expressed their dissatisfaction with law enforcement's handlings of their original missing persons cases. Mary McGraw, Megan's mother, said the sheriff's office essentially told her, quote, "We don't think she's missing. We think she's running from her troubles."
Yeah, see, it's the same old song and dance. She had a.
That's the same thing they've said about my cousin, who's been missing for, going on 3 years now.
All you got to say is anything about drug use or anything, just drug use.
Yeah,
That's
there's
it.
a whole write-up in the newspaper where they're saying she basically just skipped town to avoid being in trouble, even though she's fallen off the face of the earth for 3 years.
If you ever admitted to doing any sex work or any drug use at all,
yeah.
smoke pot
Have
back
any
in
kind
college,
of criminal history?
yeah, anything at all, they write you off because unfortunately we have some really great investigators we hear about from time to time here, but there's some really lazy ones. And they like to write people off because you know what it is?
They just don't take adult missing persons cases that seriously.
They don't care.
Yeah, it's
They
true.
it's their way of saying that if something did happen to them, they deserved it.
Yep.
If it's an addict or sex worker or anything
Sadly,
like that.
that's true, Dylan.
Yep.
Well, after the murder of Charlie Carver, Todd posed as the man posting on his Facebook account. He made these like really weird cryptic posts alleging that Carver and Brown had like run off and gotten married.
Oh, okay.
That's why they were missing.
Yeah.
And in one eerie post, he quoted the lyrics from Hotel California, quote, "You can check out anytime, but you can never leave."
I mean, I guess that was an attempt at him covering his tracks, if you will, but
So
yeah.
in another strange twist, Charlie Carver's former wife, Nicole, so they were estranged at the time of his murder, was accused of making Facebook posts from Charlie's account as well. She was also charged with impersonating an officer and was accused of pretending to be an Anderson investigator in order to track Charlie's phone. So he and Kayla Brown had only recently started dating after his breakup with his wife, Nicole Carver.
yeah.
Carver's father said that his son was a gentle soul. Quote, he never hurt anybody. He would give you the shirt off his back or the last $2 in his pocket. Friends said they had warned Kayla about entering into a relationship with Carver. They said, quote, you're dealing with a married couple here.
Yeah, that's good advice.
So that has been the story of Todd Kohlhepp.
What an asshole. He's a mega.
He's a little bitch.
He's a prehistoric shitbird.
You ain't nothing but a big old bitch, Todd.
Yeah, I wish I had connections with a prison gang so I could have you shanked tomorrow, you little bitch.
What a bitch.
God, I wish somebody'd kill him. I'm glad your mom's dead.
It's just, I don't know, this living this double life. I mean, it makes me think of like Dennis Rader, Ted Bundy. I mean, he was a successful realtor, owned a business, obviously had some money.
You know, it's almost scarier when these types of monsters
living in the suburbs in a subdivision.
Yeah.
Neighbors. Everybody just thinks he's like a normal, regular guy.
Owns multiple properties. I mean, imagine what this guy could have gotten into or what he might possibly done we don't know about.
And he's a sick freak.
And it's almost scarier when these monsters have money.
And he's a sexual predator. And he's a sadist.
Yeah, because they have extra money to spend on crazy, weird stuff. And he loved guns.
And had way too many.
Way too many.
I mean, he wasn't supposed to have any because he's a felon.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Stockpiling and this property. I mean, it's as if he was building a murder compound where he could take people and torture them, kill them, bury them on the property.
They should have got him at 15. They should have got his ass at 15. He should have never been let back out of jail.
Agreed.
After you raped that poor young girl and terrorized her like that. They should have kept him in there. Or no, they should have put him down like the piece of shit that he is. This is what I'm talking about. We need a special jail for people like Todd. And I don't care if they start this mess at 10 or 11, dude. That ain't a normal person, and they don't change. You can't rehabilitate that type of person.
You're saying you can't fix a broken brain?
You can't fix someone like Todd.
Psycho brain, you can't fix it?
Yeah, he's in jail for, extended period, and he didn't even slow down, son. He come right out, hit the ground running, ready to get at somebody else.
Yeah, he's like a definite predator.
Well, I'm glad he was a good dishwasher in prison, and his supervisor said he was an asset and all that. But yeah, this guy's a monster, dude. And people will be like, "Oh, he's 15." I mean, let's ask Reggie about it. That girl made him rape her. They was in love.
I can't believe
it was a love rape.
That my stepmom knew her.
I can't believe Miss
or that she met Todd.
I know.
Yeah,
dude.
We had a pretty lengthy discussion about it the other day over coffee.
What did she think about Todd?
I mean, she said they had gone to lunch at some point. He was with his mom and, just seemed kind of like a normal dude.
Wow. She was that close to a monster.
Yep. And that she had, on more than one occasion, I guess, had dropped off some documents, like had met him out and dropped these documents off so he could give them to his mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had multiple interactions with this person.
Yeah, I think maybe 2 or 3.
That's crazy.
But she actually subcontracted for Reggie as a court reporter for like several years.
Gosh, that's scary.
And this was back when, she had first started her own business.
Right.
And so she would take on jobs like, subcontract jobs.
So honestly, she could have pissed Todd off by accident and become one of his victims.
I mean, you never know.
Gosh, because it didn't take much to make this guy lose it.
It's really scary. It's interesting as well how he seemed to target these couples. Mm-hmm. It's like almost like by shooting the men, he was demasculating them. Like, I can take your woman from you, and he shoots and kills them and then takes their girlfriend.
Right, and it literally freezes her. I mean, you could tell this was his intent. It freezes them. They're like, oh, what the hell? I mean, it's not empty it's not threats. You just watch them murder your loved one right in front of you.
Well, and if you want more information, I recommend watching some of the clips, the interviews with Kayla Brown on Dr. Phil, which are available via YouTube. Kayla Brown says he spoke of Stockholm Syndrome and would tell her things like, soon enough, you'll love me, and like, we're going to be together.
Oh my gosh.
It's like he was, doing this in hopes that he was going to groom her into being his girlfriend or partner.
See, and it's weird because he had, it's not like he was some incel who could never get a woman to touch him. he had, I guess, quote unquote, successful relationships with other women.
Well, he was having a long-term affair with Holly Udy.
Yeah. So I mean, so this was just all that he wanted the control. He wanted like a pet
He did.
that he could put away and completely control and do anything he wants.
It's dysfunctional. It's like Gary Heidnick.
If they piss him off, he can kill him and get rid of him, and he'll just get a new pet.
Ugh.
This guy would have never stopped.
Okay, Dylan. I believe you're right.
All right.
It's time to wrap things up, bud.
Thank you, Heather.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Mountain Murders. My resources today were newspaper articles, tons of them, the Greenville News.
And your stepmom.
And also, I read a great article in the State magazine as well. And then, yes, of course, my stepmother had some input into the story.
Well, thank you for that.
Crazy conversation with her.
I knew when this broke, it was kind of sensational in our area, but I certainly didn't know the nuts and bolts that you get with the deets, if you will, with a Heather deep dive. So I appreciate that, and I can't wait to see what you cook up for us next.
You're welcome, Dylan. We will be back on Wednesday with a midweek episode. And if you're feeling froggy, find us at patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast. We just dropped, I don't know, Dylan, a bit of an episode devoted to Quiet on Set.
Yeah.
We discussed the Nickelodeon documentary, and we have a lot of bonus content at patreon.com. Also, if you have a listener story or you just want to send us a line, mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com is a great way to do that. I'm going to post some photos on our Instagram account at Appalachian True Crime. If you would like to go see some photos of Todd, I have the container, pictures of the victims, Kayla Brown.
I want to read the reviews.
Yeah.
That's
I have photos of the Amazon reviews as well, and I will be posting those not only on Instagram, but if you're a patron, you're going to get access to even more photos on Patreon.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Have a great night, Dylan.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.